Hey everyone, Paul Johnson, Waconia, Minnesota, and the Laughing Trout Fly Tying Club. Today I'm going to be tying my version of the Whistler. So this is one of my favorite bass flies. I tie it on a Gamakatsu B10 stinger hook, size 1/0. Eyes are extra large Beadchain. These are silver. It's got some silver Flashabou, yellow Bucktail, white Bucktail. The gills, if you will, would be large red Cactus Chenille. And then it's got a collar of red saddle Hackle. So let's see if we can get this thing tied. The hook in my vise. For thread, I'm using Danville 210 denier thread. Get that started. Lay just a little bit of a thread base down here. And then just back a little bit from the eye. We're just going to make a little bit of a bump there, and that's where we're going to tie those bead chains in. So at that cut, going to make a couple X wraps here. Make sure it's on there straight. Now I'm going to put a dab of super glue in there right now, and then I can make my thread wraps through that super glue. So X wraps, and I'm going to come underneath, pull that all together. All right, and then go right behind the bead chain. I've got about 6 strands of Flashabou. And how I tie this in is I try to get about in the middle, drape it over my tying thread, get a hold of the ends, and then I can put it right in position and then tie that down. And that's in there. That's never going to come out of there. And then for the ends, you just don't want them cut straight across. So I just kind of make a few cuts in there, so they're not all the same length. And then back about maybe 3/4 of an inch there, I'm going to tie in a clump on the top of the fly of your yellow. I'll also tie this in all white, red Bucktail. Now compared to a clouser, this Beadchain is not heavy enough to flip this big hook over. So the darker color normally would be on a clouser you're going to put on the bottom. But on this one, I'll put that on the top because it's just not heavy enough to flip that over. Now, just in case we run into a pike or two with some sharp teeth, and they like this fly too, I just put a dab of super glue in there to hold that bucktail in place. Now, then turn my vise around. I've got another clump of, this time, white. Tie that in the same way. Make a couple wraps of tying thread. Put just a drop of super glue on there as well. Continue to wrap that tight. And then I'm just going to separate that bundle of white in half on each side of the hook. All right, for the gills, we'll have this red large Cactus Chenille. Strip some of the fuzz back to expose just the stem. And I'll make 5 wraps or so of this. Right up to the bead chain. Can tie that off. Somebody stole my scissors. Cut the excess off. Then what I did is I took a saddle Hackle, cut the fuzzies off, and then I cut just a little bit from the base of the feather on the stem. Make it almost like a comb, just to give that thread a little bit something extra to bite into. And then I'll make about 2 or 3 wraps. Right? Don't be traveling around with this. We're just going to make them one right over the other one. Come in with my tying thread. I can take my hackle pliers out of the way. Trim that rest of that feather off. Now sometimes kind of pull it back, kind of get some of that out of the way. A couple more thread wraps in there just to X wrap. And then we're ready to whip finish. So there it is. That's my version of a whistler. This is a great fly, spring, summer, fall here in Minnesota. I've caught a lot of fish on this. So hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much.